Welcome to this Maundy Thursday talk and a short reading to accompany our Zoom communion service, which will happen this evening at 8:15. Did you know Maundy means commandment, and that's picking up on the reading we'll hear in a second of Jesus commanding his followers to love one another. So that reading from John chapter 13, verses 1 to 17. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that his time had come for him to leave the world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. The evening meal was being served, and the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "do not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said that not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, servants are not greater than their masters." Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. If you've known me for some time, you will know that I'm not a great fan of Lent. I have no problem with self-reflection and renewed determination to follow Jesus, but I struggle with how giving up Facebook or chocolate for Lent helps in the grand scale of things. If it does help you to focus afresh on God, then great. Let me encourage you in that. For me, it doesn't work. Okay, you could say that I've simply got no discipline, but that's probably quite true. Yet this year of all years, such aspects of Lent seem to me something of a distraction. For many, the survival is the focus of attention. And I'm not thinking anyway about some people hoarding toilet rolls. I'm thinking of the millions who do not have the luxury of a lockdown under a safe roof, where there is no running water for them to wash their hands, where the close proximity of living together with others simply doesn't allow you to simply keep good distance from one another. Think of the millions across the world in such circumstances, and that is before you even think about the availability of healthcare. Against that background, I struggle with how giving up Facebook or chocolate for Lent is something that can work. Again, if such fast does help you to focus afresh on God in a renewed way, let me encourage you with that. Yet, As I've mentioned over the past couple of weeks, the readings, the Psalms that have been set for us to read at morning prayer have taken me on a journey reflecting on our need to lament what is happening across the world, to call out to God, "Oh God, why?" Of course, to recognise that God is present alongside people as the storm blows, yet like our Old Testament forebears, still to call out to God, "Why?" Actually, such lamentation can only be lamentation by first recognising that God is here in the present, else it is just a forlorn cry. I don't think that is bad theology. You may disagree, and I'd love to hear your point of view. Yet the church will be called upon over the coming weeks to answer the question, so where was God then? I think I'd like to make a couple of observations. Firstly, I believe God is here. I'm finding much in the Old Testament that speaks of God being there in the midst of trouble, alongside that felt reality of a sense of distance. That is why I wonder if the church is being called upon to lament, to call out to God. "I know you are there, Lord, yet why, Lord? I know your comfort, Lord, but make it more visible, God, for those who so much are in need of you now." That must surely be our deep cry of the soul today. That is part of the call to love and to serve one another, as we hear in that reading. And I do sense something of that deep cry as we journey through Holy Week, as we see Jesus' closest followers move away from him, as we hear something of the Son's anguish, as he calls out to God his Father, "Take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." If Jesus found himself crying out to his Father at his time of need, while knowing of his Father's presence, then surely that should influence our cry out to God now too. I'm sure our deep cry of the soul is needed, and one thing that the church can do so practically at this time. I simply offer that to you to ponder on. I need to lament our present situation before God, not out of a desperate sense of, "Where are you?" because God is here, yet a deep call from the heart. "Why, Lord? We need more of you, Lord." Then developing that. Alongside that, there is that deep need to serve one another, to love one another. That is central in John's account of Jesus' final meal before his death, where he tells people to love, to serve, as he has loved them. The account in John is clearly not an institution of communion. It is simply Jesus' call for us to love one another, to serve one another and the wider world, to show signs of God's love through practical action. In the answer to the question, so where was God then? Alongside that need to lament, there is the call to service, to show practical expressions of God's love to us. Yes, of course, such activity is being seen by people of all faiths and of none, yet there is a deeper call in this reading, one which simply says, "Serve as Jesus has served us." So where is God in the middle of this crisis? Being seen through the work of the church, us serving one another. For now, under lockdown, that may simply be by phoning, by encouraging, by shopping and delivering. Yet I'm sure that when we come out of lockdown, there will be some truly deep needs that we as church will be called upon to help with, to help people through. Meeting hidden needs, perhaps with employment help, in many practical ways. I'm sure there will be quite a few with mental health issues who will need us to walk alongside them with agoraphobia and ongoing fear, for example. This final walk towards Easter morning is one which should, in our present situation, challenge us, the church, to lament, to call out to God. I know you are there, Lord. Yet, that's what the events of Good Friday truly speak into. Yet, why can't we see more of you, Lord? Alongside that, there is clearly here a challenge to serve one another, just as Jesus has served us. May we seek to do that now. Come the end of lockdown, the church will be seen by more in our communities as being humble and ready to serve.